Words are about to be spoken on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, brought to you by the ad-free shows Wrestling According to Alba and Podcast Heat Networks. I'm John Alba. That's the broken one, the woken one, the spoken one himself, Mr. Matt Hardy. What's going on, my man? We are fresh into September. The sun is going down earlier. I don't like it, but I do love getting a chance to chat with you every week here on the Extreme Life. What's going on?
Same. I can also tell you, speaking from experience, I go swimming with the kids every day. Evermore, Evie, the Gothic baby, is swimming like crazy now. She can dive in she dives in on the deep end and swims all the way to the shallow.
Wow.
So look at that, a 4-year-old. I've already told Woofy she's going to be a better swimmer than Woofy if he doesn't like get on it, man. Sometimes he doesn't come out and swim all the time, but Evie's doing great. She's doing very, very good. And that makes me happy. I wanted to make sure all my kids could swim so they would be half-ass safe out there. So that's a great thing. But I can't tell from swimming every day, the water is starting to get cooler, which is a sign that fall is coming and winter. And the only redemption for me is that the pool will be cold enough to cold plunge in. That's the only redemption for winter.
Yeah, more pumpkins are going to start showing up around your house. More.
Bro, they're everywhere. It's too late. They've been here since early August.
They everywhere.
These pumpkins, they're everywhere.
Hey, the kiddos were at New York City Fashion Week this week. I saw that. That was pretty exciting. They did their second tour of New York City.
Yeah. They got called in and they did a hell of a job. They all had little suits. It was funny. Evie had a little suit on as well. It was very, very cute. They all did very, very good. I was very, very proud of them. And it was one of those things. It was like last second. So they had reached out to my wife and said, "Oh, we would really like the kids to come." They did it last year. They were great. They were such good models, such cute kids, whatever. We would really love them to come. So, of course, Big Daddy Hardy here gets stuck arranging the travel and setting everything up for them because, my wife had just had a long week. She just had a little surgery and a couple procedures. And then she pushed through it and went with the kids. And I was in Harhound this weekend in Cincinnati doing a big Comic-Con.
Would Breezango be impressed by their modeling skills?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
Breezango, they would approve. I think they'd give him 2 thumbs up. No doubt about it.
All right. Sounds good. I mean, I saw Tyler Breeze show up. They're doing that NXT reunion show this week, which will have happened by the time this podcast drops. I think that's pretty cool. They're doing a whole black and gold reunion of sorts. Just a pretty cool era of wrestling. You weren't involved with that era, needless to say. You were not in the company, but what do you think of black and gold from afar? Was that something like you were itching to be a part of, seeing it from the outside?
I don't think so. I don't think I don't think I necessarily want to be a part of, but I did think it was good. I thought it was a good system for developmental, and I thought they were grabbing some of the top indie stars and they were putting them in positions to succeed. And I thought it was a very good. I think it was a very good call what they did with NXT Black and Gold.
Sure, very cool time they got going on there. Your kids were in New York City. We're going to be in New York City as well. That's because the Hardy Party is coming to New York City at Connolly's November 22nd. During the day, if you're trying to go to Full Gear, you can still go to Full Gear at night across the river in New Jersey, in Newark, New Jersey specifically. A live Matt Hardy podcast, a live Jeff Hardy concert, followed by a VIP meet, greet, and delete, plus food and beverage. It is going to be an awesome time. If you're in New York City, you're seeing these flyers popping up everywhere. That's because the Hardy Party is the party you don't want to miss. What can fans look forward to, Matt?
It's going to be amazing. To be in New York City, in Times Square, I'm going to be doing an hour live television taping, a full-blown episode of The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. John Alba will be there as well, hosting. It's going to be great. We're doing a brand new, fresh topic for New York City and New York City only. And then following that, Jeff will be going on. He'll be doing a stage show, an acoustic concert, and Jeff's music has come so far. I was just watching him this weekend. His concert was so good. I got to sit back and listen to it, and it was truly enjoyable. And I cannot wait for you guys to get out, because not only are we doing the podcast and not only are we doing the acoustic concert, we are doing a meet, greet, and delete. We are ready to get in there. We're going to take pictures. We're going to sign autographs. We are ready to meet everybody in New York City.
Everything's bigger in the Big Apple, and this is going to be our biggest show of the year. So excited. Maybe our biggest show ever, quite frankly.
Mhm.
This is an awesome venue at Connolly's. It's an Irish pub. There's an upstairs stage and venue. You're going to eat well. You're going to drink well. You're going to get some great stories, some great music, and you're going to have the best meet and greet in all of wrestling. We encourage you to pick up your tickets now. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can scan the QR code. If not, hardyboyslive.com, HARDYBOYZ live.com is going to be where you want to pick up your tickets for that. Do not wait to purchase them. This will sell out. We can't wait to see you there.
This will sell. And also, I want to tell everyone, if you're coming out to Connolly's, come out on an empty stomach because they have amazing food too.
Yes.
It's going to be an amazing dining experience also.
Sometimes you just like need an order of French fries. You know what I'm saying? Like you just need an order of French fries. And Connolly's has great fries. I had them last time I was there. Okay. Lots of things going on in the wrestling world this week. The biggest news, Andrade gone from WWE. Here's someone you had a chance to work with. You got to know a little bit. It's a pretty interesting situation. He was released by the company. He's on social media thanking them for their time and everything, but there seemed to be some extenuating circumstances at hand. It happened pretty quietly, all things considered. I did some independent reporting for the Takedown on SI, which you can go check out, that took a dive into potential wellness violations going on there. Matt, this is a complicated guy who, on the record, has had some backstage incidents over the years, but he's so talented. He's so good at what he does. What do you think about the news?
I'm going to start off by saying I like Andrade a lot. I got along very well with him. I worked with him first in WWE on the main roster. I know we worked a few times in South America whenever we did a South American tour. I really enjoyed them. Got to work with him on a few house shows and live events. Obviously, at AEW, I was paired with him. He kind of came in and joined the Hardy family office, and we made it into a conglomerate, right? We just joined together, and it was a little oversaturated. It was a little much, and I think we both realized that kind of going in, but it is what it is. And I do like him. I like him as a human being, and I know he'd been through some struggles. Him and his wife had just got separated, getting a divorce, so I'm sure that was very challenging for him. He seems to be happy that he is no longer with WWE. As far as you said too, like I do not know all the exact circumstances. I don't know the cold hard facts, the cold hard truth of whatever else, but there seem to be a lot of signs, as you've said, throughout his ultimately being released. So all I'm going to say is that I hope he's well. I hope he's good. I hope he's healthy, and I hope he's in a good place. And I wish him all the best going forward.
He's a really talented pro wrestler. When he left AEW, Tony Khan had nothing but positive words about him. He wanted to re-sign him before his contract expired. Do you see a path back there for him? Do you see television time there for him? What's your take on that?
I mean, if Tony Khan had that high praise for him towards the end like that, I don't see why there wouldn't be a path back to him to AEW. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that turns out.
It will be interesting. On the wellness front, aside from him specifically, it stirred a much bigger conversation about wellness policies in wrestling these days. WWE was really strict with it for a while coming out of the Chris Benoit stuff, not just performance enhancers, but even weed as well. It's tapered down significantly over the years to where TKO hasn't announced a wellness violation since they took over. Even, and AEW I don't think has ever announced a wellness violation. I don't even know what sort of wellness policy they have there. Where do you
I don't think they have any kind of wellness policy. Okay. I mean, in all honesty, I just think it is what it is. If someone, I feel like if they deemed someone had a problem or an issue, they would address it and then do it. But I don't think there's like a system in place.
Gotcha. At AEW. So I want to ask you then, because you're someone who has seen so many of your colleagues die early. They've died of young age from substance abuse. They've died from steroid abuse or whatever it may be. It was so strictly policed. You were there during that era when that kicked in, and now it's a little more laissez-faire. How do you feel about all that? Because this is ultimately, Matt, this is not a real sport that needs to be regulated like baseball or football or anything else. This is a
Right.
performance art.
I mean, I think it is. I think it is important to have something in place just for the safety of your performers. You know, I think there is something that should be in place, and I have not been at TKO during their reign. You know, I've been there a couple times just as a visitor, but I have not been around. I don't know the experience. I don't know like the inner workings of what happens when someone fails a wellness test or whatever else. I know they're still getting tested regularly. That is something that is happening. I don't know those inner workings or inner details, but once again, I think it is important if you see someone is going down a dark path that you are willing to address it and make sure they get back on a better path.
Was there an eye-opening experience that you had during your career that brought you to that stance?
I mean, I just think whenever I left the company at the end of 2010, I just, you know, there was pressure on me there, and I just needed to change, you know, and some of that too was being put in very stressful situations, not being able to get time away from the road. Someone they depended on that they thought was consistent, someone they trusted, not to, you know, take advantage of anyone. You know, they kept me on the road because they knew I could work with anybody, regardless of their size or their shape or their talent level, you know, or their experience level. So that was definitely challenging, but it put me into a weird position where I had to just do whatever I could do to go out there and go. And I learned quite a big lesson from that.
Well, we're glad you're in a good spot, and hopefully others are out there as well. It's just so fascinating because wrestling is not regulated in the same way that other sports are. So just hopefully people are taking care of themselves ultimately at the end of the day. We do have a few big shows going on this weekend, and we did have more news I want to dive into from last week that we very briefly touched on in our episode about TKO, about WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. You know, it was announced. They had an event that they announced it. And it's drawn a lot of pushback, Matt. A lot of fans, they were at the Worlds Collide show, and they booed heavily this announcement, like very heavily.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
So I threw it out there, and I'm sure there have been others as well who have had similar thoughts that when WWE brings WrestleMania out to Saudi Arabia, you're taking away a huge weekend that indies were able to piggyback on, WrestleCon's able to piggyback on, etc., right?
Right.
That's a lot of money out of people's pockets throughout the industry on a weekend that people expect. What about the idea of AEW putting on a big event the night of WrestleMania, since WrestleMania will be during the day, and inviting the indies, inviting WrestleCon, inviting other conventions to be a part of it, and telling fans to come here, we're going to give you something that you can celebrate because the other company didn't. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, we've had this conversation already off air, but I mean, I think that would be brilliant on AEW's behalf. You know, people have talked about how WWE was counter programming AEW. I mean, it would be a way, in theory, for them to kind of counter program them, but also gain a lot of goodwill in the whole experience, and do just like you said, like invite WrestleCon and invite Michael from Hotspots to come and bring, you know, all of the talent, invite indie shows to come and piggyback off of it. And, you know, maybe do a night or 2 nights of big wrestling action and try to make it a special weekend and almost fill in the void for American fans and North American fans that love to travel out to WrestleMania each and every year. I feel like AEW could earn some goodwill with fans from doing
Now, it
that.
is a risk, of course. We don't know where AEW is going to be in 2027. We don't know what that entire political sphere is going to be like. But I think that it's a good way to send a message and would send people into a familiar comfort zone with that weekend. Where would you do, hypothetically, an event like that? Like, what city would you bring that to?
You know, I mean, when you think of like great cities for AEW, I mean, the first city that really pops in mind is Chicago. Chicago is a big AEW city, but I don't know. I mean, you could also do the stadium in Texas again, where they had that, you know, great turnout. You could do New York, Arthur Ashe, do a couple nights there. I feel like you would need a big arena and try and make it as monumental as possible, because I think the goal would be create an event that seems like a destination viewing. You have to go there. You have to see this. It's something very special, and put it on the level of, what a WrestleMania would feel like. I think, go nuts, make it your biggest show of the year.
I think it would have to be a show in the vein of the original All Out, that felt like All In rather, that felt like a big collaboration among a bunch of people, and I'd showcase some of those talent. But I'll give you one. I'd say New Orleans. New Orleans got WrestleMania taken away from it for Las Vegas this past year. It's a huge destination city. It's a big party city. There are venues that can hold ancillary events. I think New Orleans makes so much sense for an event
And
like
plus,
that.
it would add more goodwill to AEW.
Exactly, because you took an event away from there. So we'll see. I don't know. Still time for them to figure that out, but it is an idea that I would have to think Tony Khan has at least put some thought into. And if I'm an indie or if I'm a convention, I'm absolutely getting on board with something like that. So we'll find out. AEW does have All Out going on this weekend in Toronto. Your best frenemies, Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, they got FTR. Who goes over, Matt Hardy?
I mean, I think for this one, I think you've got to go with Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. I think you have to keep the momentum going. I mean, I think these guys can draw money for AEW. I think they can bring back casual fans. If you hate that term, you hate that term, but I think they can bring back casual fans because they are a team from a very popular era, the Attitude Era, and people love those guys together. So I think you got to keep the momentum on them.
So you see this kicking off an elongated tag run with them?
I would imagine so. I mean, I think together, especially at this point, I think nostalgia is strong. It's very successful for myself and Jeff, and according to the appearance that Dudley's had with us, that will be airing this Thursday, it's going to be also very strong with Edge and Christian.
So what are you going to do? Like a 4-second pose, a 6-second pose?
Well, I don't know. I don't think they're going to revert to that. I think they're going to continue to evolve. I think there's going to be a reinvention of both of them. I like the direction that Christian is going right now. Just how he's still doing like the dad thing, and he's acting like a dick. He's Edge's asshole. He's Cope's asshole. I like that, and I think there are a lot of legs to that, especially if you do it in the right way, where you have someone that is even worse than him, like put him in a shitty situation, or get heat on him, whatever else, and then still have him be that badass character, but just put him in the role of the babyface. I think it would work.
That's a big match going down at All Out. The show's also going to feature the return of someone I know you got a chance to know pretty well in AEW, Eddie Kingston. I feel like Eddie Kingston's really become... He wasn't an AEW original, but he feels like an AEW original. How do you feel about his return?
Good for him. I know he'd been out for a long time. He'd been out and injured and hurt. How long's it been? A year?
Well over a year. Well over a year.
So it's great to hear that he's back. I like Eddie Kingston a lot. I've always liked him. I first got to work with him when he came into TNA and was doing some stuff with James Storm's group, and I've enjoyed him since the very first day I've met him. So I'm glad he's going to be returning, and I wish him all the best, man.
He's very real, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he's a very legit guy. He's very much like a diehard New Yorker. You know what I mean? Like when he just no bullshit, no, just very straightforward, very blunt, and he is who he is, and he's proud of it.
Over on the WWE end, we got WrestlePalooza, their first event on the ESPN platform. The big mixed tag match on this show. AJ Lee, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Talked a little bit last week about AJ Lee's return. Still a lot of momentum there. How would you play this one out?
I mean, I think this one is definitely Punk and AJ. I think they win, and then you build to singles matches between the two. And I think you want to eventually get back to a Punk Rollins thing, because they've had a pretty good thing going for a while.
I could see it being both ways. I could see it being Punk Rollins, and I could also see it being Becky and AJ Lee. too.
Yeah,
In their own
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think you have Punk and AJ win, and then you go to singles following this. You have, you have Punk and Seth, and then you have AJ and Becky going, at it
'Cause
101.
we got Perth coming up next month. They're going to Australia.
Right.
And then after that Survivor Series with War Games, and I'd have to think that Seth's group are the heels in War Games. So get a super team out of that and figure out what goes from there. And then the headlining match, the main event of WrestlePalooza, is going to be John Cena and Brock Lesnar, two of the biggest stars of that era. Brock Lesnar's first WWE match in some time. John Cena's probably third to last match when all's said and done. Who do you think goes over?
That's interesting because I could see this in theory going either way, and I could see it at Cena's behest, making it go either way. I personally would like to see John win. I would like to see John defeat Brock. Obviously, they have a great history together and whatnot. That's I'm going to go with John. I'm going to say you want to send John out on a strong note, so I'm going to go with him, even defeating Brock in his return match.
Okay, because of their major matches, like 2012 when Brock returns,
Brock is dominated, right?
This is their rubber match because Cena won the first one, that Extreme Rules match that Brock probably should have won, but Cena did win that. That was like prime Super Cena.
Right.
And then a couple years later, Brock did the whole 14 suplexes, Suplex City.
Yeah,
he beat Cena. So this is the blow off here, and I'm very curious what kind of match they work, because I'll tell you, and I know you agree with me, the last few matches that John Cena's had have been some of the best matches he's had in some time.
Yeah, you can see he's extremely motivated. He's looking at his legacy, and he knows people are so dialed in at what he's doing now. And once again, I know, we talked about Cody and Cena, at WrestleMania, the match not living up to expectations. And I feel like Cena is really trying to cement his legacy as being one of the hardest working guys of all time.
All right, my friend, we have some great guests on this week's episode. Very excited to welcome them in. But before we can, you know what I got to ask? Please hit us with that Matt fact.
Matt fact: Matt has started fasting.
Oh boy, how's that been?
It's interesting. It's tricky. There comes like different waves, especially if you do 24 hours. If I end up doing it today, I did it once last week, and I was working. So it was, in some ways, it was a little easier because I was distracted the whole while. But I've got to go today to about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So I'll see if I can make that. But I am very motivated for Bound for Glory, my 51st birthday. I'm like all motivated to be in shape, especially with this big week coming up at Bound for Glory. It's going to be a very, very big week for Matt and Jeff Hardy. So let's go, man. And you get older, man, you have to change things up a little bit. You have to keep things fresh, and you have to try new things.
You know the feeling all too well. It's game day. You are sweating about your fantasy team. You are sweating about how your team is going to do this season. I'm a Giants fan. I know this firsthand. Sometimes you think you're smelling a little too lucky. Sometimes it's the smell of defeat. So let's be honest. Regular deodorant just doesn't cut it. Things can get pretty ripe these days, but there's a real game changer. Mando Deodorant Plus Sweat Control. This isn't just another cover-up. Mando is one stick, two jobs. Powerful odor and sweat control. It actually stops odor before it even starts. There's no masking. It's just freshness. This is odor-lasting control right here. We're talking 72 hours worth of it. And after just 12 hours, underarm sweat is reduced by 92%. This is 2 times better at controlling sweat than the standard. It doesn't just mask odor, it prevents it. 100% of study participants experience all-day odor protection. And unlike other deodorants loaded with chemicals, Mando uses only premium ingredients like gentle mandelic acid to keep you fresh and dry. I'm telling you guys, I work in New York City sports. The pressure is on all the time for these athletes, and I have no doubt that when Jackson Dart gets his opportunity under center for the New York Football Giants this year, eventually it will come. He'll be sporting Mando so he can say sweat-free. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash or my personal favorite, the deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Just use code HARDY, H-A-R-D-Y, at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered. With deodorant plus sweat control, say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness. All right, so this is a interview that we've been looking to do for a long time here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. You know, Matt has had a great chance to work with so many talent in TNA that have made a name for themselves over the past few years. And on this particular episode of the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, we're going to be talking to one active TNA wrestler, one former TNA wrestler who's currently with AEW and Ring of Honor. They've started a new podcast. They're doing a lot of good charity work out there. And we're just going to have a good conversation about wrestling, charity, and everything else going on. They are none other than Steve Maclin and Deonna Purrazzo. How are you, my friends? Thanks for hopping on the Extreme Life.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Very good to see you, Steve. Very good to see you, Deonna. Hope you guys are doing well. Huge fan of what you guys are doing, especially with your charity work and everything you're doing. I'm very excited for the new podcast. It's been an absolute joy being able to work with Steve and getting to know him over the last year or so. And what a great dude, man. I can't say enough good things about him, John.
Look at that. That's some high praise there.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
He's blushing. Oh, stop it, you. No, but, and there's so much to talk about. And we've got both of them here because they did just launch their new podcast. Tell us everything about Boots to Boots and everything that everyone should know about the new show.
Yeah, okay. So Boots to Boots was like this idea that I had talking to Steve about how he never sees his life after the military as a success story. And I think that a lot of veterans look to him as someone who, yes, was a grunt in the military, but then went on to accomplish really, really great things and be very successful, but still pays so much homage to the Marine Corps and the veteran community. And so I kind of wanted to bridge that gap between service and what it's like to leave, but then also that transition and kind of trying to find yourself again. And then as we started talking deeper about it, it's like, wait a second, every person on earth goes through these identity crises. That's the biggest theme, is when you take off one boots, and for Steve it was his combat boots, and put on another, what is that transition like?
I think that's an awesome concept because, Matt, you and I talk so much on this show about reinvention and taking those pivots in life and trying to navigate your way through that. And I'd have to imagine that's something that even you resonate with, Matt, in your own way.
Absolutely. I mean, I just told Steve that recently I really dig the name. I mean, from combat boots to wrestling boots. I mean, Boots to Boots is such a great name. And I think there are a lot of people that can look to this story that Steve has and the podcast in general, and they can find inspiration, they can find success on the other side of things, especially because, thank you to everyone who has served our country. I'm very grateful. Anytime I see anyone that has served in the military, the first thing I do is say thank you for your service. Those guys are willing to sacrifice everything for us, and many of them do sacrifice everything for us. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people that have hard times after that, and Steve is such a good role model of someone who has made a transition out of the military into pro wrestling, and he's doing his thing right now and has found great success in it.
Steve, how hard has it been for you? Not just, obviously the podcast is just launching off the ground here, but to open up about these things, because this is a very personal, intimate journey that you've had, and you've transitioned into a stage that's very public and forward facing, but I'd have to imagine that can't be super easy.
No, it's not. And I've always kind of been very much to myself and keep a lot of things to myself. And there's a few people I've opened up to. And obviously my wife is one that I've always opened up to. And she likes to call it my superpower of my time in the Marine Corps, and like being able to now tap into that and use it, because obviously my wrestling career is kind of kicked off and we're at a place now where we can kind of give back now. And that's kind of what we've been doing with Tunnel to Towers, linking up with them as a charity and just getting more involved that way outside, because now we finally have a platform and a voice to use that. And for me, I've always just kind of kept it in more, but now I'm starting to learn to use that superpower, which has been fun for me and kind of therapeutic as well, because now even reconnected, one of my best friends, he's about to retire as a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps, and another one who's a first sergeant is going to retire next year. We've just been able to like reinvigorate our relationship and see each other a lot more, just because we've gone through like times in our life now where we can finally kind of relax and settle. And I think for me personally, that's kind of where I'm at in my life. And now being able to do that and share that with my wife and get out there to inspire other people that there is a different pair of boots that you're going to put on, whether it is combat boots, whether you're a teacher, you're working in an office. And for us in the wrestling world, it's like once those wrestling boots come off, what's next? What's that crossroads you're coming to? What are you going to find that's your passion, other than having all your chips into one pot on the table for being a professional wrestler? It's like, what's next? And that's what we're trying to get to.
You know, Steve, what do you feel like what do you hope people gain by listening to your podcast? How are you hoping to inspire people? How are you hoping to influence people in a positive way coming out of this?
Well, the first few episodes are pretty much on us. Kind of, we introduced it like a wrestler would. We're introducing ourselves as our characters, as us. You're getting to know me. You're going to know how I got into the world of the Marine Corps and then into the world of professional wrestling. And then you got to know how transitioning in that time frame, how I was able to handle that. And then you get to know a little bit more about my wife, which I think everybody kind of knows a good amount about the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo. But then you get to know just us and how we met. And then it's then leading into our transitions and trying to talk to people that we're trying to connect with and get their story out there as well, of how once they changed a pair of boots into another boots to boots, of how they just were able to transition and come to that crossroads and deal with it.
I think that in these transitions there's self-doubt and there's confusion and there's maybe anger and there's all these big emotions that you deal with, and sometimes it feels very isolating, sometimes it feels very confusing. From the veteran lens of it can be so drastic that people take their own lives. And I think that being able to talk about those transitions and normalize those transitions will give people that motivation to say, like, okay, this is really tough right now, but I'm actively listening and watching people be successful in this space that I don't know how to handle myself. And if I could take a tip or two from their journey to implement to my own, then maybe I can get through it too. And so it's just that advocacy that obviously is a really big part of our relationship in our lives now, but trying to then get out of just the veteran community and reach anyone who might be feeling that trepidation in their next steps.
D, you are someone who, I mean, you're a woman in wrestling. You're going to be subjected to so much input on social media from people that I'm sure you're not seeking input from. And when you're putting yourself out there so publicly, just like what I was talking about with vulnerability, that has to be difficult. So using your experiences, how were you able to help push Steve to talk about these things and presenting these stories together on this forum?
Yeah, well, I think that that's something that like we've both had to navigate in just our personal relationship. And obviously when we started dating, I knew he was a veteran, and I come from a family that loves our country, loves our veterans, is so supportive. And my dad was like so thrilled to have, a son who served in the Marine Corps. But I think that respecting those boundaries and never pushing him to open up or talk about a situation that he's not ready to talk about. And I think that on the podcast, especially in these first few episodes, you kind of see me gain that flow of like, I don't want to push you to talk about something you're not ready to, but I need you to open up. And it's just been a struggle for as long as we've been together, for the better half of almost 7 years now. And I think he's, like you said, in a really great place where he's more forthcoming with that information, and I don't need to drag it out of him. But it is a sensitive topic, right? And I've never wanted to make him or any other veteran that we've come across feel uncomfortable in needing to share personal, intimate details that they're not ready for the world to know yet.
Indeed. Something I always go back to when you're talking about that internet and the input that she receives and whatnot, John, is the best thing about social media, it gives everyone a voice. The worst thing about social media, it gives everyone a voice. It is what it is. It really is a catch-22 in many ways.
Matt, Go ahead, Deonna. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I feel like while we were working on like all the back end stuff for the podcast to come out, I was super self-conscious because same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, like when you talk about veterans, when you talk about being like, having support for our country and all these things, there comes a lot of negativity. There isn't so much positivity, but it does come with a lot of negativity as well.
Right.
And I was really self-conscious about that. But I think that no, Steve doesn't care.
See, that's where I come in, is where with all the negativity that comes on social media is like, to me, I always revert to those people are going through something in their own lives, and they have to just revert to negativity and outlash and just make people feel less of themselves. And it's just because they're going through some hardship in their own life, or that's just them. And it's just like, don't worry about those people. We're doing what we want to do because it's what we believe in our hearts. And I try to tell her that all the time, even when it's negativity towards both of our bodies, where people on the internet love to body shame or anything, whatever you say that's positive, there's always going to be that person that's going to go out and be negative. And I always tell her, just block that out. Like, it's just, who cares? It's just somebody on a keyboard. I do not care. What matters is who we are and who we're speaking to and getting this message across to. And if we help one person, we've done our job.
Yeah, and that was more important going into this, was like our mission is to maybe help people and create a safe space for people who don't have one, or are struggling to find one. And so that mission is more important than any negativity that could be thrown our way.
That's an outstanding attitude to have about it. And I love that you guys lead by example. Matt and I did an episode about the post 9/11 SmackDown in our archives. You can check out extremehardy.com. And I know it was a crazy time for you guys in the company there, Matt, but I had a chance to chronicle Steve and Deonna's memories about that when they did their last work with Tunnel to Towers, an organization that goes to supporting first responders, especially in regards to individuals affected by 9/11. You guys are going to be doing a 5K on September 28th as well. When I do my work for SNY, the Mets Network, I work on the reflection pools. Like, my office building is directly next to the reflection pools. And it's so sobering being in that environment every week and just remembering 24 years ago what happened here. What inspired you guys to get involved with that charity and to participate in some of the work they're doing?
Yeah, well, I think Tunnel to Towers is known, for a lot of the like not celebrating 9/11, but honoring the victims of 9/11 and obviously yes, and promoting that we'll never forget and leaving a legacy for first responders. But they're also doing a ton of work for the veteran community, and they're building veteran villages all across the country where they're purchasing old hotels and turning them into apartment buildings and giving homeless veterans a place to be comfortable and have access to the healthcare that they need and things like that. So I think that as their mission has expanded from just 9/11 and first responders to our veterans, that was when we were like, okay, obviously we support, the 9/11 mission, but adding that other element into it was like, oh, this is something we need to be a part of.
I think it's just an amazing charity to be a part of. Matt, is there anything you want to add on that front? I know that a lot of core memories for you go back to that day and the work involved with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, man, I got to tell you, 9/11 was such an impactful experience for myself and my brother. I mean, I remember we were in Houston. It's just so vivid. I remember everything in great detail. And I remember being woken up in the morning, and it was Shane Helms that had called me and kind of told me what was going on, and then turned on the TV, and like a lot of other people saw things happen in real time. And then we followed it, and we were canceled. They postponed our show on that day. And then Vince wanted everyone to hang around, and we were going to do it live on that Thursday. And I just remember like, man, I just want to be home. I just want to be home. We were in a hotel too, like on the 18th floor, 19th floor, something like that. So it was, we just didn't know what was next. We didn't know what was happening. And I remember I just wanted to get back home. I wanted to be with my dad. I wanted to be with my family. And, whenever we finished SmackDown that night, I remember everyone jumped in their rental car and started driving. You know, there was a line of like 15 or 16 rental cars with different wrestlers in it, and everybody started driving towards the East Coast. And there was a point where we split. Some guys went north, some guys continued to go east. You know, and just everybody wanted to get home. But that was such an impactful moment. And I just said this the other day in a tweet recently. It's so strange how America was so unified after 9/11. Everyone was like on the same page, and there was this great sense of like being an American and just patriotism and whatnot. It's sad how divisive we are now compared to how we were following 9/11, you know, and it just really, I wish we could do whatever it would take to get everybody back on the same page as Americans.
Guys, enter the room dick first. Blue Chew isn't just a tablet, it's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting, like someone gave your downstairs a little bit of a pep talk in a gym membership. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. I told you recently, Blue Chew works internationally. I've tested it, and so has Matt Hardy when he's got Queen Rebecca by his side traveling on the road. Blue Chew is where it's at, guys. It's not just about performance. This is about legacy, or third legacy. Give her group chat something to talk about. You know, when you lay it down, they're talking about how it gets up. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. So discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we got a special deal for our listeners. As always, you get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use promo code HARDY at checkout. Pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head to BlueChew.com for details and safety information. And big thank you to Blue Chew for sponsoring the extreme life of Matt Hardy. And the work you guys are doing is definitely helping lay the foundation for stuff like that. I do want to talk about wrestling, though, for as serious as all this stuff is. You know, this is a wrestling podcast at the end of the day. Steve, like, you're going to work with the freaking Hardy Boys. and you know, like, talk about 2001, Hardy Boys are at the height of their popularity there in the Attitude Era. What's it been like in the locker room having them there, and what have they provided for TNA and helping you guys get a little visibility?
It's been nothing but awesome and cool. We had a moment this past taping in Minnesota where I was talking to Jeff and Matt afterwards in the locker room, and it was just funny because they had a promo with the Dudleys, and they're talking 25 years ago of the Royal Rumble tables match at Madison Square Garden. And I'm like, holy shit, like, this is like kind of a surreal moment for me, because I'm like, I'm in the locker room with you now. So it's one of those moments in wrestling where you realize how good it is and how blessed it is to have this job and to now sit. And I said it in a promo a few weeks ago when we were up in Rhode Island, like, I get to hang with my peers, my mentors, my heroes. And I truly meant that, because it's just, they're the guys that I emulated as a kid. I was jumping off the garage, jumping off ladders, getting yelled at by my mom. And here we are. It's really cool, but I get to do what I love, and I just feel like a big kid all the time sometimes. And I try not to lose that.
Yeah, that's great. Steve has been, I'm so happy he is getting this opportunity to shine that he has had in TNA, right? Someone who has worked very hard from the beginning. And once you get to know Steve, getting to know him, you learn about his work ethic. You learn how you learn about how hard he works to be good at this and to perfect his craft, and also just how much he cares about it and cares about everybody else, just a caring human being in general. So it's been a great experience. And there was that time where we were out there and we all had a promo in the ring together, which was a lot of fun. And for Jeff and I, it's just so cool to be in a position where we both feel valued. Jeff says that all the time. At TNA, we feel valued because we're put in a position to succeed. And we're doing exactly what we should be doing there. And if we're put in that position, we can still help out in the big scheme of things. And it's been great that TNA has had all this momentum. They've been on such a great roll, and there's a resurgence going on. And yeah, it was wild as hell to be in the ring with the Dudleys, especially once we stepped into the ropes. The crowd was chanting for us, but once we stepped into the ropes, you know, there was a "this is awesome" across the whole building, which was so cool. And it's wild. It doesn't even feel like it's been 25 years. You know what I mean? It feels like it's been 5 years ago. It's been a while back, but Jeff and I, we're just both very blessed to have longevity, and we love being in a company with a lot of young talent like Steve, who can help us carry the load.
Deonna, You've been a big part of wrestling discourse the past few weeks. I ironically, actually, it was a question that I asked Tony Khan just because I was just going through the women's roster in Ring of Honor, and I was like, Deonna hasn't really been on TV, but I know you've been very public with trying to create opportunities for yourself. You did return to Ring of Honor television. How have you been navigating the last few weeks and trying to position yourself for a spot here? Because again, that's something Matt and I talk about all the time too, making yourself relevant, putting yourself out there on social media, leveraging conversation. How have you been navigating that?
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because I haven't seen a lot of the girls in what feels like months. I just haven't been to work. And so when I was back in the locker room and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it doesn't feel like it's been that long because you've been so relevant on social media." And obviously that's part of getting ready for the podcast. It's doing a lot of independent shows. But I think that, when we've talked about it, Steve and I, feeling like I'm kind of in that weird transition where it's like I have so much to give and I have so many ideas and I want to be a part of everything, and it's not about needing to be a world champion. It's just wanting to have a position where I have consistency and I could do my job. And so at the end of last year, I felt like I wasn't getting those opportunities. I felt like my wrestling was then lacking because I wasn't getting the reps I needed to stay at the top of my game. And I just made a promise to myself that this year I was going to, take independent bookings. I was going to be in the ring consistently. And even if it wasn't to leverage a spot on TV, it was going to be for me and to make sure that I feel like I'm doing my job well and I'm proud of the job that I'm doing when I leave the ring and I'm giving my opponents good matches. And so, yes, it's I want to be on TV. I want to be, on Dynamite and Collision and doing stuff on Ring of Honor. But if I can't, then I'm going to be making sure that I'm taking care of myself outside of there.
Do you have any, Deonna, like immediate goals, things that you would really like to accomplish on AEW/ROH programming in the near future?
Yeah, well, so I came back at Death Before Dishonor just a few weeks ago, and we kicked off the Ring of Honor Women's Pure Championship Tournament. And so I have yet to have my first round match of that against Trish Adora. But,
Which should be right up your alley.
Yes, I'm a Ring of Honor kid at heart. I got the biggest start of my career in Ring of Honor. That's where the Virtuosa came to life. And so I have such a place in my heart for that company and what I think that women's division could be because I fought for it from the beginning. And so to be back is really cool. And to be introducing a new championship, which I feel like my entire career has been based on pure wrestling, whether it's been advertised that way or not. I think that I can go far in this tournament, and obviously I hope to become the first ever women's pure champion.
Steve, we just talked about earlier how she was very supportive of you and trying to push you to step outside the comfort zone, be more vulnerable and whatnot. You're someone who has had to reinvent themselves, taken off TV, and then find your footing back onto another platform. What kind of support, what kind of advice have you been able to offer Deonna as she's navigating that journey?
Pretty much the same advice she got when the day I got the phone call that I was being let go from WWE. It's just like, all right, now it's on you. It's like, go set the world on fire. And like the best part that you could ever have is when every bit of the weight is on you and now you can kind of control everything. Because there are times in your career, and I know Matt could probably attest to this too, it's like you can only do so much and it just comes down to what creative or the boss wants. So what can you control yourself? And that's your attitude, your look, your body, how you handle everything that you get put in front of you with your promo skills. Like even with promos, I go to her all the time. I'll send her because my vernacular isn't the best sometimes. So I'm like, hey, I'm trying to say this way. So I'm like, how could I say this way? And then vice versa. We do the same thing where like, if she has an idea for a match, she calls the entire match to me, or she sends to me an entire text of the entire match. And I'm like, maybe switch this and this. I was like, but hey, call me real quick and like say it to me so I can hear it. And then I can kind of feel it too, just so that you're getting your creativity out there is what she pretty much wants to do. And that's all we've ever wanted to do. And most pro wrestlers just want to do that at the end of the day, is get everything that's stuck in here and then out in here and then get that out there to the world. And sometimes when we can't do that, that's where you do get down on yourself. You kind of get low self-esteem, you feel depressed and get into those funks of just not being able to go out there and create. And it just got to a point where I just said, let's take some independent bookings, get out there and just bust your ass. Whether you can't be on TV there, you can control by getting in the rings and going 15, 20 minutes on the indies. Just do it. Why not? Who's going to say no? If they tell you no, you're trying to do your job.
You know, you're so right there in everything you say about a lot of pro wrestling in general. And I can say the speaking room experience is like making the most out of whatever opportunity you're given. Even if it's not a great opportunity, you just try and make the most of it. You optimize each one of those opportunities, right? So, Deonna, what do you think would really make you stand out on AEW and then become somebody that is like a regular on TV in a very sustainable position? What do you think would be your strengths that would make you stand out the most?
Yeah, I think that like utilizing vignettes and explaining to the audience like who the virtuosa is, is one something that wasn't really ever done for me coming into AEW at first. But I think that when you create a character that the people know that they love or that they hate, it doesn't matter your wrestling skills. It doesn't matter the amount of time you're given to wrestle on television. They instantly have that connection of like, we don't like you or we do like you. And I think that, you know, and it's not just AEW, it's just wrestling in general. I think that that kind of character development is lacking. And so I think that if I was given the opportunity to do live in-ring promos or stylized vignettes backstage where we can explain what the virtuoso means, because I am not ignorant to the fact that a lot of people don't know what it means, and show her in these different scenarios, whether it's, you know, like I have this idea for like a mad artist kind of vibe going on where, you know, it's just chaotic and crazy and I'm kind of like Van Gogh and like, you know, the ring is my canvas, like explaining that to people and showing them the range of emotion that I can have in certain situations, I think would really benefit me tremendously. But then on the other side of that, it's like, well, in AEW, the ring work does matter. And so I think giving women time in the ring, you know, just comparing it to my time at TNA where I was very popular, you know, I was getting 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes sometimes to create these really elaborate and intricate storytelling matches that people didn't need to know anything else other than we could tell the story in the ring. And I don't think women get that opportunity yet in AEW to have so much time to really create false finishes and get the people to bite on our wrestling. It's very like you get 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 9 minutes, and sometimes that's not enough.
Well, I think that's a very open and honest answer, and we appreciate that. What do you think can be done in that sense to maybe open the mentality more in a situation like that to showcasing? Because I mean, man, I talk every week about this. AW's got a tremendously talented women's roster. You're a big part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, you know, obviously it's taking the time that we're given and making the most of it. I think that it's doing more character driven work. I think that, you know, we've seen so much of that with Toni Storm, and that's why she's the biggest women's wrestler in the world right now. Is they've developed such a character and such an identity around her that we know how she's going to interact with everyone she's in the ring with. We know, you know, who she is at the end of the day at her core, and that's never going to change. And then she's been also given the opportunity to go out in the ring and have matches with Mariah May where that storytelling bleeds into it, and we can see them have this like bloody catastrophe of a match, and it makes sense. I think that we just need, you know, real characters in our division and people who are willing to step up and say, you know, I have this idea, and also to maybe produce it on their own. I was able to do that, and AEW used my vignettes, and I think that's where we started to develop a little bit of the character. But I think that you know, the more we could tap into our creative team, the more we could bring ideas that are character driven, the more fans will get invested in us.
You know, Deonna, I gotta say too, I agree with your take on Toni Storm. I think she is one of the most compelling and enthralling characters on all of AEW, and that is why she is as popular as she is right now, because people are really into her character and what she's doing, which says a lot. Her work is good, and she's a great storyteller in the ring too, but her character is what people are so invested in right now.
Yeah, and when she's given that opportunity to have 12 minutes, 15 minutes pay-per-view matches, it's the work rate matches the character. And so that's all that we want, right? That's the dream, is to have the character development and the time in the ring. I mean, she's got it all. So I think that if our division can kind of get people rolling in that same direction where we have these big characters that people can get attached to, then there'll be no argument in terms of we need more time in the ring.
Do you two workshop character ideas off each other?
All the time.
All the time.
I just pitched one to her the other day that I'm trying to get another vignette style, kind of to what EY and I did, where it was 6.5 minutes of just a cinematic vignette of trying to tell the story of who I am and try to kind of dive deep into who I am. And now I want to kind of just continue off of that post BFG, and just I love bouncing ideas because she'll give me like how she wants it, but then I give her how my vision is of it and how I would say it, because we both say things differently. Like even on promos, like that's I love the best is she's like, "Oh, you didn't say it this way," and how I thought you would say it. I was like, "But that's not how I would say it." And that's the fun part of creativity. Is like, no, this is where my mind was going, or I was kind of amped up a little bit as I was saying it, so it came out this way.
Yeah.
But she helps me out in the sense of like making a point to certain things that you have to make a point of. And then even when we were doing the vignettes for her, when she was doing with the wine glasses and the candles, like I was there to help and kind of critique while she's doing. I'm like, hey, maybe say it like this or try it this way, just to have it on video, just so if we want to add it on or use it later, it's just something to play with, because that's where I have fun. And I love the creative side of just creating in the cinematic world, because that's all it comes down to. What we do is pro wrestling, but people get connected to these characters at the end of the day, and that makes them want to see you. And for me, I have a very complex character where it's hard to kind of tap into showing you in the ring of what my mindset is, other than looking at my enemy and knowing that that's my target and I have to go kill it. That's my mindset. But now, how do I do that on the opposite side, through promos, through vignettes? I pretty much compare myself to the Punisher and Captain America-esque as a character, where I just take from those two and become that in real life, but also still stay true to who I am.
You know what? I was just going to say that the idea about bouncing promos off one another is such a great way to go about things, because it's great when you can bounce your ideas for yourself off of someone else that knows you in great detail. Because a lot of times when you're in your own head and you're thinking about an idea, sometimes there's like blinders on, sometimes there's parameters it's hard to get out of. It's great when someone who knows you well can say like, well, maybe you could do this, or maybe you could do that. That's something that Jeff and I do all the time. Jeff will say, hey, what do you think about this? And he'll ask me, and I'm like, well, with being who you are and the enigma you are, maybe add this or add that. And we do the same thing. We bounce ideas off one another, and that's great that you guys do that. Something I want to ask you, Steve. Considering you have been such a major player for TNA over the last year, I know of, current international champion. I just want to say, what are your goals going forward? What would you like to accomplish? What would you like to do while you're in TNA currently for the next little bit?
Well, being the first ever international champion is just being just that, as an international champion. It's going globally and taking that title everywhere that I can go. I have India coming up this week as my first stop on an international tour, which is awesome that it's finally happening, because the day I won the title, I'm like, all right, what's the plan? Where am I going? Where are we going? Where's Maclin going to around the world? Where is that Indiana Jones travel map of that red line going everywhere, bringing me? It's just how I envisioned it, because it's like, all right, this is a brand new title. I want to introduce this to the world as the international championship. Where am I going? Am I going to Japan? Am I going to Mexico? Am I going to Europe and the UK? Am I going to Australia? Like that's where I see myself going and taking this title, not just for me, but also now I get to go represent TNA wrestling and carry the brand with me and show the world that isn't used to live wrestling from TNA, and give them what they could possibly see when we come to town. And that's a lot of pressure, but also that's what I love to do, is carry that weight.
That's also establishing the title in quite a way, to have it be the international title, and you are a guy that is traveling internationally and working all across the globe defending it and whatnot. Okay, I like it.
That's all I've ever wanted to do with getting into wrestling. Like, I always just wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to go fight wherever I could. And now to be a champion and defend it wherever I could makes it even better. And it's just, again, talking about being a big kid, is I get to do that. It's the best job in the world, man. It's fun. And then I get to go get introduced to all these different cultures. Like, I'm excited for India this week with GLW. And I did media yesterday, and I kept asking some of the people in interviews, Mara, what do I need to eat? What do I need to stay away from? What's good? What's bad? So it's just, that's the fun part for me.
I got to tell you, you're talking about the character development and more cinematic stuff. If you ever need a studio to go shoot at, rumor has it the Hardy compound is a pretty good place to flesh out some cinematic character ideas for both of you. Just saying.
Absolutely.
A virtuosa can become broken with a quick trip to the Lake of Reincarnation, for what it's worth.
I like that.
But no, it's so awesome seeing what you guys are doing both in the ring and out of the ring. The Tunnel to Towers run, that is September 28th. You guys are going to be participating in that. You can donate to that. Just look all that stuff. I know Matt's a big fan of that. And then the Boots to Boots podcast, which you guys got going. Where can people find it? And when am I going to get that segment with Deonna testing Steve's U.S. history knowledge on it?
Well, you can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and also our YouTube channel as well. So click subscribe and share as much. Leave a comment. Please let us know what you think. And any critiques or questions you have for us or for anyone that comes on the podcast as guests coming up soon, let us know, because the first episode dropped yesterday and it's about me. For once, we're talking about me in this relationship.
Once. Okay.
Brother, I'm right there with you.
It's okay.
It's a rarity.
It is. It's nice to have those moments and then just kind of go away again.
Well, the difference here in your relationships is, Steve, you know, you're an upstanding citizen in your marriage and everything, whereas Matt, according to his significant other, is a piece of shit. So it's fine. You know, you try to weigh it out every way you can. But no, we're gonna link to the podcast. Congratulations to you guys on your success. Congratulations on everything you got going on in TNA. Steve, Deonna, excited to see you back in the ring. Matt, anything else you want to add here?
No, man. Anyone who is out there, if you're a diehard Extreme Life of Matt Hardy listener, thank you very much. And if you're not familiar with Deonna and Steve, please start following them. They're both two great guys, both two great human beings, two people who are really great at what they do in the ring. And just like I said, on top of that, great human being. So please follow them and check them out and check out their new podcast, Boot to Boot.
Great stuff from Steve and Deonna. I really enjoyed that conversation. What do you think of it, Matt?
I did as well. I enjoyed the conversation and good for those guys. I'm glad they are starting a podcast. I hope it does well for them. And I've really enjoyed getting to know Steve, getting familiar with him and getting to work with him. He's been an absolute pleasure, man. What a gentleman. He's
a great talent. And I'm glad that they kind of push each other a little bit with their characters and stepping outside their comfort zone. And I think that's really good. And it will allow them both to succeed. And I hope Deonna gets more opportunities in AEW, Ring of Honor, wherever it comes, because I think she's just so talented. And when she jumped over, man, I mean, that was a big deal when she jumped over from TNA. She had a great TNA run.
Yeah, no, I mean, she's extremely talented. I mean, as a wrestler, she is on a very special level as a performer, especially when it comes to like being a pure wrestler, as we talked about earlier in the interview. So I wish all the best for her, man. Hope she gets a great opportunity and hope she can follow it up and hit a home run.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. Best of luck to them on their projects that they got going on. And as you alluded to earlier in the episode, man, happy early birthday to you here. We'll tape next week, which will be afterwards, but big 5-1.
We're getting there.
You're in good shape, man. You're looking great. You're ready to kick some ass at Bound for Glory. Feeling good going into this year?
Yeah, man, I am feeling good. I'm feeling good overall, and I'm going to do my best to do everything I can to continue to feel good.
You're trying to get in Saudi shape, they're calling it these days.
Well, it's going to depend on those digits, man. It's going to depend on those digits, how good of a shape I get in.
Oh, goodness gracious. I have a lot of things I could say on that one, but I'm glad that I get to do this show every single week with you. Happy birthday to you, my friend. And I know that on behalf of the diehardies, they all feel the same and extending those wishes. We encourage you to head out to advertisewithhardy.com, promote your business to the extreme, get out in front of thousands of listeners and viewers every single week. That's advertisewithhardy.com. And don't forget, pick up your tickets now. HardyBoysLive.com, November 22nd, Connolly's in New York City, Times Square, the Hardy Party. It's going to be an all-time great event. We hope to see you there. Matt, anything else you want to add?
No, man. Just once again, as I love to say over and over to everyone who is a diehardy and Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast listener, thank you so much for supporting us, Matt. Please keep supporting myself and John.
The words have been spoken. We'll see you next time on the Extreme Life. I'm Matt Hardy. Delete!